Blog Talk Radio.
You are listening to the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Welcome to Earth Sky People Radio. Living in harmony with Mother Earth and awakening to an intergalactic society. With your host, Victoria Vives, founder of Reiki Wellbeing and co-founder of the Earth Sky People Movement. Any opinions expressed on Earth Sky People Radio does not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Enlightenment Evolution Network, and any opinions expressed by Earth Sky People Radio's guests does not necessarily reflect the opinions of Earth Sky People Radio. Hello, this is Earth Sky People Radio with your host, your friend, your family, and all of that, Victoria Vives. And you can find me at victoriavives.com. Today is Tuesday, October 14th, 2014. And this is a time of transformation, the fall. It is a time for renewal. As I look through the window, I see a magnificent walnut tree letting go of its leaves, letting go of the old. And in the same way, we can use this time to let go of what is no longer serving us. So if you are not driving, I invite you to close your eyes for a moment, focusing on your breathing. And imagine yourself as a beautiful tree with beautiful roots coming down into Mother Earth and beautiful branches reaching up into the skies. What are the leaves that you would like to let go of today? Leaves that you are giving your energy to and no longer serve you. Just allow those leaves to fall, softly, gently, and see them rolling over with the wind as you regain your strength and energy to focus on the things that truly matter to you right now. Good. And with this awareness, take a deep cleansing breath and you can slowly open your eyes. We are together in Earth Sky People Radio, representing our connection with Mother Earth and nature, and sky representing spirituality and life beyond the earth, extraterrestrial, extra-dimensional, intergalactic. Last week, we had an extremely exciting interview with Sacha Stone from New Earth Nation. We were learning all that New Earth Nation is making possible so that we live in a new Earth and to live in harmony and freedom. You can listen to the replay at victoriavives.com/radio. And today we actually have the amazing opportunity to join with Greg Alexander. He and I will be guiding a chakra tuning for you to follow along, and that will be at the end of the show. And before that, we will have an interview with him and a Q&A section. So you can start calling now at 347-215-8586 and press number 1 so that you can make sure that we get to your question. And speaking about Greg Alexander, so he's also known as Sri G. Ananda. He is the author of many popular books in spirituality. He is dedicating his life to fulfill his vision, which is one of a world without stress, without violence, and without prejudice. Through fine arts and spirituality, he has worked on several projects, becoming a humanitarian leader, a spiritual teacher, and an ambassador of peace. And in this interview, we will discuss how art and music can aid you in your spiritual path. We will also be discussing how getting to understand your chakras can dramatically improve your life And finally, we will discover and uncover the secret to world religion. And to check out Greg's website, just go to artofunity.org. And remember, for the Q&A section, I recommend to start calling now because it's first come, first serve. And the number is 347-215-8586. And now we welcome Greg Alexander. Hi, Greg.
Hello, Victoria. It's nice to be on with you, and I hope we have a nice evening.
Thank you so much for offering your time to be with us today.
And thank you for inviting me.
Oh, my pleasure. And how did your spiritual journey begin?
Well, before I really thought about a spiritual journey, I was always into fantasy and science fiction. And I remember just when I was like 10 years old, I was writing a story. And a lot of it, I think, back then it could have been like from playing video games too, because you know something silly as just playing like a video game. I would start drawing the characters or cartoons, and that's what children do. And so I just start to draw the characters, and eventually I found myself really enjoying listening to music and writing at the computer. I won like a Young Authors Award for like a science fiction story that I had done, and I also wrote a play for a Native American mythology project where I was in Washington State, a place near Seattle. And it was a project about creating like a creation account from a Native American perspective. So I called it Why Animals Can't Talk, and I wrote the story, and it turned out to be a play, and all the different students or my classmates performed it. They dressed up in costumes, and it was a big deal. Yeah, so it was a big deal. Yeah, and so I really felt like I had a gift because, of all the students in my class, my story was chosen to become the play that we all performed. And so the next year I wrote another kind of a science fiction story. And that science fiction story won a Young Authors Award, I was like in the 10th grade. It was either like 9th or 10th or 10th or 11th. And I just kept feeling like I was drawn towards fantasy and science fiction. And then I kept developing the story, and I don't think it was really that great of a story, but it was just the way I felt. And it was more about the feeling, the emotion of when I was writing it. And so when I was 14, the Star Wars movies were being re-released.
Ooh, nice.
That was the 20th anniversary, I think. And see, I remember when I was growing up, I was born in 82, and so that was right when Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and everything was released. So I was kind of born into that, but then I kind of forgot about it. And so when it got re-released, it was almost like my whole childhood was coming alive, almost like all those memories I had were just coming back up, kind of like the soul retrieval. It's like all those memories, everything was just resurfacing. And I just began to create my own story. And so I'd go to bookstores and I'd just spend the whole time looking at covers. And I really didn't really read the books. I just would look at the covers, and I would just get lost in the imaginary world of all the different fantasy locations, and that's one of the ways I started to really develop a love for art, is because I then wanted to draw my own paintings of these places in my imagination, and also have that science fiction aspect of the universe and the stars and everything, which, as I then began to learn about the chalk, find something that was more based on what's in reality, and not just something fictional. So the whole thing about the chakra is rooting you down to the earth, and then the connection to the universe and to space and everything like that really began to appeal to me because that was from my heart, from what I was doing back then. So I kind of put those dreams aside of, becoming a filmmaker and doing all that. And I really wanted to research what real mysteries would be, instead of just, something, fictitious. I wanted to really investigate and find if there are real mysteries, real amazing things that I could learn about the universe and the world and everything. And so I really started going from the science fiction section of the bookstore to going more into the spiritual section, the religious section, and that's when I really began a search for just feeling like there's so much information out there. And that's one of the things that really inspired me, is knowing in our time of technology, you can just search whatever you want to search for and really start to seek those answers.
Right. How exciting. I love it. And, lately I've been seeing all the things that you are creating, and I have no idea that you are an amazing artist. Like, you have these beautiful paintings, and you have music, and you have also the books that you have written. Can you tell us more about your books? How many books you have right now?
Well, you see, in 2000, my father passed away last January.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But this is kind of a difficult season for me, but I'm feeling more, actually doing the chakra music and doing everything. I'm really trying to be more spiritual. It has been very therapeutic for me, so I really, and I think that's part of the emotions that I put into some of my more recent things. I think it's been a big part of that, a healing process for myself also. And but in 2002, my parents were at church on Easter Sunday, and at this point, I really didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with my life. And it was after the service. It was at Assemblies of God, which is kind of a Pentecostal, more of a charismatic or a spiritual church, because really the charismatic churches are more about being in touch with the spirit, being more spiritual. So after the church service, a husband and a wife who my parents had never seen before, did not know, they approached my dad first and told my dad that, God had a message for him, and actually said that my father would get an illness in the future. It was kind of strange that he had foretold of my dad's health. But then he turned to my mom and said that there's something very important that I have to tell you. And at the same time, his wife began to circle my parents, and she'd stop at my mom, and she'd start speaking in tongues. And in the charismatic church, that's the sign of the Holy Spirit. And it's supposed to be, to me, it's almost like a shamanistic ritual, because a lot of that, the circling, the speaking in tongues, a lot of that has connections to some of those. And actually, it was an African-American preacher in, I think, early 1900s who began the charismatic movement. So I thought that was interesting. So she starts speaking in tongues, and then she stops and tells my mom, write your testimony. And then the man tells my mom that she would have a great organization that would affect the world and would be very successful. So she foretold of this great success in all this, kind of strange stuff, like something like very spiritual was happening. So she told my mom basically that she'd have this great ministry or this great spiritual organization or something in her future. So my mom comes home, and she really is excited to share this experience. And the first thing I thought was maybe it has something to do with me, because I always felt like I had some creativity in me. I always felt like I had something to contribute, something to use talents to do something like that science fiction story, because I stopped writing the science fiction because I wanted to do something more serious with what's really going on in the world. So I took this as a challenge, and I thought, my mom really wasn't. She really was, like, a year passed, and I saw that she wasn't really doing anything. She just was excited about it, but she never really was doing anything. So her and I both started to feel like whatever it was, I had it in my heart that I wanted to have something. So if there was to be this organization or something in my future that would be successful, I really felt like I had the desire to do it. So I just woke up one day and said, I'm going to start this. And I began by buying as many books as I could.
Wow.
And I bought every single subject. I mean, I bought every subject, and my thinking was that there's so much information out there. I can buy used books. I can go on the computer and I can just order books from the 1900s or old ancient books. I can buy new modern books. I can buy books that are on the cutting edge of scholarly research from the latest professors, and just Google people in forums. I mean, I just really, every speck of research just stimulated me, and because I realized that I could start to understand things that maybe nobody else really thought about before, or maybe they did, but it's just lost in a forum, or it's lost in a conversation, and nobody has really thought that there could be something very beautiful. And that's why I believe that art and music is so important, because to put together something beautiful and just have it be intellectual, nobody really can read all these books. Nobody can really, just in one sitting, go through everything, but they can see how you express yourself through artwork and music. And so I turned to the art and the music because I realized that as beautiful as the information was, I needed to express it in a way that people can be able to see it and feel it, like my chakra book. Nobody can really read through all my chakra information. They can listen to the music, and through the music they can just feel and understand all that the chakras are.
Beautiful. And how you feel that understanding the chakras can help people changing their life?
Well, you see, in the beginning, I didn't really know that I would be even getting into researching the chakras. I was just I was raised as a devout Christian. And so I was kind of sticking to the Bible, and I was going through all these very hard to understand concepts, like the menorah has 7 lamps. It's the Jewish lampstand. And I was developing a complete understanding of it, but I didn't know what the chakras were. So I came across the writings of Paramahansa Yogananda. And that's when he really started to explain how it's all over the Bible, like I said, the menorah has 7 lamps, and it speaks of Jesus as a lamb having 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God. So when I started to reform my research and really realize that all of this was revealed in Eastern beliefs, and I turned to all these wisdom in Hinduism and in Buddhism, and all my research, this was around 2008, and had many supernatural events where everything was really pulling me towards this direction. So I really felt like this is where I was supposed to be. And so I began meditation in 2002. And so so everything was coming full circle in 2008. So I really felt like when I took on the chakras, the benefit of it was that it really pulled everything together, because your root chakra is your connection to Mother Earth, which is how you beautifully articulate the earth and sky and the whole connection to the dual aspect. So, and for example, the root chakra is correlated to Shakti, which is the Kundalini energy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Beautiful.
for one of the very, very first things that I had researched was Gnosticism. Now, are you familiar with the Gnostics or Gnosticism at all?
I'm familiar with the concept, but I didn't delve into it.
Now, what's interesting is that there was an early Christian sect, and they existed right alongside all the other, and there were many different gospels. There were many different teachings that claimed that they were all from the apostles and Jesus. So the Gnostics had their scriptures and their teachings, and almost everything, when I realized, is basically like the chakras. It's basically revealing Kundalini yoga in all the complexities of it, because the basis of it was Sophia Wisdom, and she was called like a motherly figure, like Mother Earth. And they said that she was the most important aspect of understanding the purpose of the teachings of Jesus. So I really developed a very thorough and complete understanding of who she was, and it was so important to me to really take on the thoughts that it's all nonsense and it's not worth your time. It's just don't even look into it. So I really took it seriously, because if there was this Sophia, there was this feminine aspect of God, I really started to have a sincere love that I wanted to understand who she was and not understand why nobody else seemed to even know who she was. And so, like, for example, the book of Proverbs, I'm not sure, Solomon wrote extensively in the book of Proverbs, and the very first chapters, from Proverbs 1 through 8, you're familiar with the book of Proverbs?
I know I read when I was really small, so I wouldn't remember right now.
Sure. Okay, so what's amazing is in Proverbs 1 through 9, it is the chakras in modern detail. I mean,
wow.
like, as detailed as it could ever be. And these things just blew me away. It amazed me because there's so many people who in the 1960s, they were really into the chakras and the yoga, and when all that was really getting popular through the Beatles and everybody. And so I've heard so many of them, and now they became Christian, and they started thinking that that's not in the Bible, and it's incompatible with Christian teaching, and they've written books, and they get on TV and they start saying that it's nowhere to be found in the Bible, and many people are believing that there's no way to reconcile it, and so they just kind of get scared off, and they think it's not worth their time. So knowing that, it was my great enthusiasm and passion to find out how amazing it actually is. For example, in Proverbs 1 through 9, it literally speaks of the 7 parts of the body. It basically speaking of the feet, of the navel, of the heart, of the throat, of the eyes, the crown of the head, and it speaks of it with information like more precious than rubies, and an ornament to grace your neck, and a crown of splendor. And the language is almost identical to the language you see in the illustrations, because it speaks of the ornaments and the tablet of your heart and the crown of splendor. Yeah.
That's amazing, because when I look back, when I was reading this text, I was in a Catholic school, So because of that, I feel that many of this information was interpreted in a totally different way. And I didn't have any knowledge about chakras, about anything like that. So for me, it was a totally different experience to read this information. So I feel that the beauty of what you are saying is that you were able to compare that with other teachings in Eastern philosophy, and that is what brings that amazing similarity that you can relate one to another.
Yeah, and you see, my information is like a puzzle, because I will figure something out, and then
Mm.
later I will come across something that totally confirms it, that totally sheds a whole new light on it. For example, there's a Christian commentator named Adam Clark, and I'm not quite sure exactly when he was. It was like the mid 1800s or early 1900s or something like that. And he wrote this huge commentary. It's very popular, the Adam Clark commentary. But for Proverbs, he wrote that. Actually, no. I'm sorry. This is for Song of Songs. Solomon also wrote Song of Songs. It's like a very beautiful, almost romantic poetry.
Mm.
If you're familiar with the Song of Solomon or the Song of Songs?
I may not be familiar with that, no.
Well, it's very spiritual. And the way that it's been interpreted, it's very much like yoga, because it's as if, it's the spirit being one with God. Even though it's kind of, Solomon doing a romantic poetry, it's been interpreted very much like yoga, where it's our spirit in oneness with God. And so what's very interesting then is, again, it goes through the 7 parts of the body. And it speaks of basically listing out the chakras, speaking of your feet, your navel, your heart, your neck, your eyes, the crown of your head. And it compares it to, like almost like a love song. It just uses very beautiful illustrations and everything like that. So what's interesting, because it's the same author, Solomon, who wrote Proverbs, so it's basically the same author, the same thoughts. So Adam Clark, in his commentary, he actually says, he didn't say it's the chakras, but he says that the same exact word-for-word concept is found in something called the Gita Govinda, which is a Hindu scripture about Krishna and Radha, and it's basically also like the chakras, because it uses the lotus, because the chakras are called 7 lotus blossoms, and so Solomon uses the idea of lilies. But when you do more research, the lilies you read about of Solomon is really the lotus, because his inspiration, they think, was from the lotuses of Egypt. And so once you start to get into Egypt and their use of their symbolism, like the serpentine headdress and all that stuff, it just gets even more clear that the knowledge through the Egyptian knowledge, which was incorporated into the understanding that Solomon had, and even that Moses had when he made the menorah, that wisdom was the very same wisdom that then came in India that formed the chakras. So when you start to see the full spectrum of all that understanding, then it really you're starting to look at the same picture, that whether you're reading it from a biblical context or you're going to the Upanishads and the Hindu scriptures, you're basically reading about a concept of union with God and how the energies of your body represent different levels of how you can find that oneness with God. And so there's so much to it. And yeah.
Yes, beautiful. All this information is precious, and I still want to also make sure that we get some of the callers in. So once again, for those who want to call in with questions, you can call 347-215-8586 and press number 1. So how you feel? Should we take the first question?
Sure.
Sure. Okay, so I'm going to go for 404. That's the area code 404. So be ready. Hello.
Yeah, hello.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I kind of got put on the spot. I did not know I was going to be first, so it's kind of random.
Oh.
This is my first time here, so yeah.
Oh, awesome. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Sure.
So, you know, I came in the middle of the whole thing, and you guys are talking about chakras and stuff like that, right? So, with all that being said, you know, I came along meditating not long ago myself, and of course, in my experiences about finding yourself, and of course being one with the earth and everything else, because we're all one in the aspect. So, like, but I think I as far as like, you know, my vibrations and stuff, it's like, at times I feel like I don't know if, you know, like I want to say I focus more on my third eye, but at times I feel like I don't know if like it's really open the way I want it to be, but not to, so to speak. So it's like, my question with that is like, how would I, you know when I completed as far as like opening up a certain chakra within my body, so to speak, if that makes sense.
Well, in referring to opening up a chakra, everybody has their own perspective on what is best. And I personally am not a trained guru who can give you the ancient experiential knowledge on, you know, now your chakra has been opened and now it's stopped and opens. But what I can tell you from my personal experience, because I began meditation in 2002, right, and I began researching chakras from 2008. And so from my experience, I feel like I don't necessarily think that it's necessary to be thinking, you know, is my third eye open? Is my crown chakra open? Now, one person did do that. His name was Gopi Krishna, and he actually ended up having some issues with his chakras because he really did open up his crown chakra, and basically he really was one with the universe. And when Gopi Krishna was one with the universe, his wife was like, can't you, eat your dinner and do the housework? And he's like, no, I'm one with the universe. I don't know what to do. So when Gopi Krishna literally opened up his crown chakra, he literally did it. He didn't have to say, is it open, is it not open? I mean, he really busted his crown chakra open, and he actually had to kind of stop the meditation and kind of cool off a little bit. So basically, I don't think we need to want our chakras to be open. I don't think we need to have to work hard at it, because I think that's unspiritual. To me, it's more spiritual to see it as a lotus, because when you see your chakras as a lotus, it's something delicate and natural. And when you want it to open, in fact, that's what it says in Song of Songs. It says that love is like a lily, and just let it blossom when it's ready. And so don't make your love blossom before it's the right time. So that's something that's also found in the Song of Songs, that it's like you're harvesting a harvest, and you're just trying to nourish that seed of being aware of God and being connected to the earth and being connected to the universe. So as you meditate and as you go on your spiritual journey, you're not thinking, am I there yet? Am I there yet? You're just loving every moment, because part of that is that you're not supposed to have all that desire. You're not supposed to, because the more you're thinking, am I there yet? Am I there yet? You're not just enjoying the moment and just trying to receive whatever you're supposed to receive at that moment. So I really believe that you don't need to strive towards being in the deepest, highest state of consciousness. You just need to be faithful to your meditation and be faithful to, maybe having a healthier diet, or like whatever changes you might need to make. Everything affects your consciousness. Everything affects how we feel. So my personal experience, I'm not giving you advice, but my personal experience is, if we see it as something natural, something beautiful, then you will start to feel that your third eye is open. And it doesn't one person's, you don't have to necessarily become a psychic, or all of a sudden now you can see ghosts and all that stuff. Everybody's different. And one thing I have also found is that every person is different. Every person has a different gift and a different ability. So you have to find out what your gifts are, and how, as you become more spiritual and you feel that your energies are opening, that how you can then find what your talents are. Because one person can just immediately have a prophetic gift, and they immediately start to be able to almost sense things. And other people can be very spiritual, but they just don't have that gift. So my advice would personal advice, and I'm not telling anyone what to do, would be just to see it as something natural and beautiful, and as you feel like your perceptions and everything, because the third eye deals with perception, and it deals with how you can understand and comprehend things. So just take notice of any even minor change in your ability to have more comprehension and more perception in life, and just see that as your third eye opening. I mean, because that's what I really don't think it needs to be some crazy, profound experience. Just cherish every moment and don't take anything for granted. And that to me has been the most beneficial way of viewing things, because then I'm not striving for anything, but just every spiritual experience I feel, I'm just thankful for that.
Right.
Beautiful. And if I may add, because I had the experience of my third eye opening spontaneously, without me wanting, without me knowing what was happening, and it was a very traumatic experience for me. So I feel that our bodies naturally develop, and when you are ready, it will happen naturally. So I would totally agree with what Greg was sharing. It's better to just make sure that you are taking care of your general energy, your general life, and it will naturally happen.
So I suppose the same rule apply to things as far as like astral traveling too, right? As far as like your spirit leaving your body and stuff like that, the same rule will apply to that.
Would you like to answer that, Chris? Or you?
So astral travel? Talk about astral travel?
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing, because, like, for example, some people, they just naturally float out of their body. I mean, I've talked to people, and they just close their eyes, and boom, they're out of their body. And other people can meditate for years, and they can't astral travel. So I personally, from my experience, feel like everybody has a different ability and a different gift. And yes, there's ways to develop different gifts, but that's not something I personally have specialized in. So from my perspective, I just have come to find that if it's something you feel like you're interested in, like have you had any experiences like astral travel?
I mean, it's like, as long as I've been getting into, like, being one with the spirit of, God and like your higher self and your inner being, it's like you could say I've had, but I don't want to like say I've had control of it. You just like you just be like a dream. It's like what you feel you're somewhere else, but it's not like what everybody else. I guess everybody's experience is much different. Some people like they leave their body and then like they'll float somewhere like around their room or somewhere within their own space and stuff like that. But it's like me, I find myself somewhere far off elsewhere, but it feels very, very realistic to where it's like actual reality till I wake back up, in a snap of a finger or something like that. So
it does happen. So this is an experience that does happen to you.
Right. So I can't really compare my own to everybody else because I guess everybody else who speak of it,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you're having these experiences, and it's actually something I have not had. I mean, in since 2002, I don't think I've ever traveled outside of my body, and but I hear of someone like yourself and other people, and they do have these experiences. So I can't give you any personal knowledge on that, except but to say that really, to me, shows that different people have different abilities in different gifts, and that's kind of why I'm saying it's like a lotus that has to naturally blossom, because you never know what direction your gifts are going to go, and so you have to kind of start to get to know where your spiritual state is headed. And I do think it is important also to get in touch with somebody who does have a knowledge of these things, and who can start to give you more answers about your own personal experiences, because sometimes these things, depending on what there's so many different meditation techniques and practices that there's almost so many different variables that could be the reason for these experiences.
Okay, so your name is Chris, right? Your name is Chris, right?
No, my name is Gregory Alexander.
Okay, Alexander. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm Jeremiah. You could call me Ezekiel. So, yeah, as far as the whole meditation thing, everything, okay, so it's like these things, they never end, and it's fascinating and interesting, because when you think you found something else comes along the way of it that makes it more, interesting. So at first you just think it's meditation, then it's like you're opening up these different chakras within your body to, become one with like an entity or, higher spirit, which is your higher self. Then you come to find, or you come across information about crystals, that match with your auras or stuff like that. So what do you say of that? Like as far as like crystals and that goes along with like the root chakra, spleen, solar plexus, throat, crown, eye, all that. Like what do you make of that?
Well, to be honest with you, my background has been not as much as dealing with the crystals and though I hear that crystals are powerful, but my personal background has been in the interfaith aspect of it, because I have heard so many people get scared off to even research this, because once you start to develop an understanding of chakras, it brings in so many terms and concepts that seem, far removed from what you would hear if someone just goes to their local church. So I felt a calling on my life, instead of just just being a practitioner who knows about the crystals and all that stuff, which I think is wonderful, for the people who have all that training and that expertise, and they've gone through all those certificates and everything like that. But what I've been doing is trying to build a bridge so that people of different faiths can approach the chakras and be able to not feel that it's just some thing that's going on with people that has nothing to do with what they're doing. So I try to really take on every single aspect of it, from the Kundalini aspect to the Ida, Pingala, Sushumna, because even in Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah, there's so much that really even puts more detail into all these different things. So that has been my personal journey, is to do it from an interfaith aspect and to provide that information to people who come from different backgrounds where they do care about the chakras, but they've been told by a family member or somebody that, that's not found in the Bible, and Jesus had nothing to do with the chakras. But if I can show them all these things, which is what Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda, he came to America in 1920, and he was sent. He said that Babaji, this mystical guru, had ordained him to create a middle golden path that could unite the wisdom of the East with basically an understanding of the four Gospels. So he wrote a 1,600-page commentary. So I really felt like developing that and taking from what he said. And so I wrote my information that I had gathered, but the reason I wanted to do the music is because I've always had a love for music, and I've been collecting audio equipment over the years. So I just wanted to express it in a creative way through artwork and music. So I wanted to make the music CD to accompany my books, because not everybody can just read through, 12 books with all my information. So I wanted to kind of share my heart and my thoughts. So if you listen to my music, the CDs, it's available on Amazon.com or CD Baby for the MP3s. That's where I kind of put my emotional perception of how I associate the chakras. So in terms of crystals, that hasn't really been my expertise, but I really felt like my contribution through these books serves a real purpose, because I am finding more and more people who are very excited about my information, because they come from a background where they just feel like, is this real? My parents or my family or my friends are telling me, don't even research the chakras. So I felt it was so important to be able to give people a resource and a whole entire encyclopedia of resources that if they ever have a question about anything, that they can feel like they have somewhere to go, especially also for Hindus, because I'm really trying to reach out to Hindus to show them this bridge and to show them that they too can benefit from this information.
That's beautiful. I love that about the bridge. And, I have to say I love crystals. I did crystal healing, so I would love to share some crystals with our friends. So my favorite crystals that I would use for each chakra would be, for the root chakra, red jasper. That's one of my favorites. Are you familiar with it?
You asking me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, say it again, please.
Yes, so the crystals that I would recommend for each chakra would be, for the root chakra, red jasper.
Red jasper?
For the sacral chakra, carnelian. The solar plexus, citrine.
Oh, red jasper, carnelian, and
citrine. For the heart,
okay.
For the heart, green aventurine.
How do you spell that?
AVENTURINE. Green aventurine.
Oh, okay.
For the throat, kyanite. For the brow chakra, lapis lazuli.
Now that's a beautiful color. He speaks of that in the Bible. It speaks of that in the Bible in the book of Ezekiel and stuff. But that's a whole different.
Yeah.
And the last chakra would be the crown chakra, amethyst. And this is just some of my favorites, but there are so many for each chakra. If you are in Los Angeles, you can come to one of my classes for crystals, or also online. I have a blog and an online course for crystal healing. and it's crystalhealer.org.
crystalhealer.org.
So you will see a blog there with some information about some crystals, some videos, how to program crystals, and then the course also. Okay, I just felt I had to share this, Greg, but thank you. Thank you for all your perspective. It's so interesting because we have very different ways to approach it, and I love that because then we can together share so much information.
Mm-hmm. Well, yes, because I intentionally wanted my perspective to not necessarily be the health practitioner perspective, meaning to just say, like what you wonderfully do. So, for example, like what I felt my calling was to do was Ganesha is associated with the root chakra. And so when I read that Ganesha is associated with the root chakra, I thought, well, how can I understand Ganesha since I was raised as a Christian? So I really began to research, and I wanted to do this because when you read that about a chakra, and then you think, well, how am I able to understand something like that? So I began to see that there are, in fact, ways to see. Like, for example, the word Isha means Lord, and Gan means of many. So it basically it's like Lord of many, and Isha actually means Jesus in Arabic. So, and Jesus is depicted as the Lamb with 7 eyes in Revelation, and Paramahansa Yogananda associates this with the chakras. So the symbolism of an elephant is actually found of God in Job. In Job 40, it speaks of Behemoth and Leviathan, and scholars have interpreted some of those as possibly an elephant. And so there's so many different ways to show that you can start to unravel these mysteries and start to put this puzzle together. And it's so vast and complex, so I don't want to necessarily get into all the details. But it's been a very beautiful journey for me to be able to make breakthroughs and to be able to put this information and then be able to use art and music to simplify it and make it more fun and understandable. So I've been just trying to cover all these topics because anywhere you go, when you start to research yoga and chakras, you're faced with all these concepts and all these words and terminologies. And what my heart was telling me is that if you're a Hindu or a Buddhist or a Christian and you're trying to understand these things, I wanted a resource that can give people tools and information to answer questions if they ever have any question, that they can go and contact me or ask me, now in terms of crystals, that's not my expertise, but in terms of how Ganesha can be associated with the root chakra and you can still be a Christian, that's what I wanted to figure out.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you, Ezequiel, for calling. We are approaching almost the end of the show, and I want to take at least a couple more calls. So it was wonderful speaking with you, Ezequiel.
Yo, thank you so much, Victoria. Thank you. And thank you, Alexander. You too.
Thank you. So let's go for the next call. And I'm going to, as I was mentioning, we are close to the end of the show almost, but I want to take a couple more calls. So let's keep it kind of brief. So I'm going to go to area code 903. So 903, please be ready. Hello.
How you doing, ma'am? How you doing, Victoria?
Hi.
This is Andrew. You probably know me from Facebook. I finally got on. First time I ever really listened to your show.
Show. Amazing. Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
I know,
you
right?
for
And you're an amazing woman. And I'm just here listening and learning, and I don't really know what to say now. After I heard all the information, it's like, wow, man. I'm not really quite understanding all the chakras and stuff. I mean, I do have been studying Alexander may have heard his book since you read a lot of them, The Disappearance of the Universe.
The Mysteries of the Universe?
Yeah. Have you heard of it? By Gary Renard? Have you ever heard of it? Is he there?
Yes.
Say it slower. I'm not quite sure I understood.
The Disappearance of the Universe, a book called The Disappearance of the Universe.
I'm not familiar with that. Can you explain?
Okay. It's a little different. It's a different spiritual journey. I read the book, and no, I'm not familiar with Chakra, but it talks a lot about spirituality, like how we all are connected, and how the universe has begun. Like for the Bible, when it says like, let us make man in our image. Pretty much, since we're all connected to God or the source we're becoming the source. A lot of people have different names. God not really a name. He don't really have a name. But we are co-creators of everything we see. And from the concept of the book, was based on a true story, is God have seen two witnesses, or two gurus, so to speak, that explained to them how forgiveness is very important of understanding becoming one with ourselves. And the Holy Spirit, a lot of people have different names, Holy Spirit, to lead and guide us back to who we really are. It's called, basically awakening up. Waking up to our abilities and what we can and can't do, our spirituality. And so he's talking about forgiveness, not like forgiveness of the world, but forgiveness is very important because it takes another level where you understand that the real you is a spirit. Just like God, the real you is not flesh like a lot of people is. A lot of people think we're the flesh, but the real you is a spirit.
So when
it
speaks of the disappearance of the universe,
mm-hmm.
I feel like what you're saying is that, because in Eastern philosophy it's called Maya illusion, and that's kind of the same philosophy of the Matrix, which was also in Gnosticism. See, that's why Gnosticism really explains these things, which is basically found in the Gospels themselves, but the Gnostics kind of developed it. So the whole idea is to be spiritual and not fleshly, and to have your connection to all your fleshly desires, like lust and greed and hate and all the things that propel us forward in just the material existence, so that we are in tune, like Jesus said, work for spiritual things. Store up your treasures in heaven, where moth and rust do not destroy. Don't work for things that thieves break in and steal. Because life is short. Because life is short. I mean, face it, we're not going to be on this earth forever. And
exactly.
So when we start to change, when we start to change our perspective, we're more in touch with leaving a lasting spiritual impression on our children, on our those around us, because we're not living just to be the best right now and right here, but we want a more important legacy and a more important purpose, that we're connected to something more beautiful and more greater. And because then when people see what we have done with our lives, they will know that we lived a spiritual life. Because you can think you're spiritual, but after you're gone, people will know if you lived a spiritual life, because they will see you as a spiritual person. Like Mother Teresa, she'll always be seen as a beautiful spiritual example of somebody who gave up everything to help people and be there for the orphans and everything like that. So the universe has to disappear because we can't live.
Exactly. It's not. From the teaching is the guy that said that the gurus taught him is that the reason we see the universe is some kind of dualism. It says not dualism. There's only such thing. Ain't no such thing as dualism. There's only unity. There's only one. He said the teaching is that the universe has been co-created. It's not really been created by the divine God, because if it was, it would be perfect, because God is perfect. But the illusion is to think the things that we see are actually real, and he said it's not real because it's only temporary. Only true what's true and spiritual are real. What cannot be altered is real. Your spirit is real. He also said that some people, I don't know if y'all believe in reincarnation, so to speak, is that some people have been here before, spiritually, because what happens is when you come into a body, you don't remember who you really are, which is a part of God. Until you awaken the real you, the real spirit, you realize who you are capable of and what you're capable of doing, and there's no time
now,
and place.
before you read this book, had you been thinking about these things, or is it this book that has introduced these ideas to you?
I have been really thinking about these things because ever since I was young, I always had questions that the church never could answer. I never could understand that the
I have a
was
book.
real.
For example, I wrote a book on reincarnation called Secrets of Samsara, and I document the whole information about reincarnation from both the Western and Eastern perspective, because reincarnation is a very important aspect of the spiritual philosophy, because in fact I think there is a whole connection to the root chakra too, because when you start to think of past lives and you start to think of those possible memories, it does open up something deep within you that can be more like opening up something deeper within. And so now I personally believe that actually when I read the Puranas, which is a scripture in India, it does acknowledge resurrection. So
and
a lot of people think that you have to choose reincarnation.
Before.
Well, I definitely believe that it does happen, because, for example, there are examples like was John the Baptist Elijah. There's great evidence to say that John the Baptist was Elijah, and there's so much information that goes even deeper and deeper to develop these, so it just becomes actually not even a controversy. It just becomes, and that was my heart, to make it so clear and so easy to understand that it's no longer a mystery or a controversy, that you really start to feel like you understand it, and that you understand that God loves all people, that He didn't just have a plan for...
You know what the thing he said was, the gurus taught him, said the reason that people come back because God's a loving God, hell don't exist. And I don't believe hell exists, because a loving God ain't going to send you to hell. He said you come back to learn. There's always a higher learning. If you find out who you are, like the chakras, what y'all do with the chakras, you're waking up to who you really are, what you're capable of doing. And there's always a higher level. And some people don't learn, they come back. That's what I heard. So they come back until they get to that point, because there's a lot of things that we learn. Lots of living and learn, because this is just a body. It's not, it's flesh, and the real us is spirit. And we all connected to God. I don't think the spirit ever go die. We've been part of God since God been here, which is, we don't know. There's no number. But it talks about reincarnation. Matter of fact, the book doesn't go to the Bible. I don't know if you remember, but a lot of books, like the Catholic Church, have thrown away a lot of books that talk about reincarnation, because they didn't want to deal with it, because the Catholic Church, organized religion, was kind of watered down, had been destroyed.
But actually what's interesting, what I found was interesting, is that even though the Catholic Church threw out the doctrine of reincarnation, there is a concept where each pope is supposed to be like the reincarnation of Peter.
That's
so I found that to be interesting, that instead of just being against the Catholic Church, you can even use that as an example, this idea that Peter is almost reborn and reborn and reborn in each pope. So I thought that was actually a beautiful way to not just point out that they have rejected reincarnation, but to say that they actually have helped to articulate it in a very unique way. So
that's very true.
Judaism,
I didn't think of that.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not shutting down all religion. I'm just saying I believe in every religion. Don't get me wrong. There are enough truth to get you where you need to go to. Even though it's not all
something
true,
really
I believe
interesting
every religion
that I
has
didn't
enough
know
truth
before.
to get to.
Did you know that Judaism actually believes in reincarnation?
Yeah, sure. I know a lot of people do. I did not really know Judaism did.
Yeah, Judaism, not every single Jewish person, but it has been incorporated through the Kabbalah, and the Kabbalah has been incorporated into Judaism, and it's says in many of their writings that exactly as you have said, that reincarnation is something that happens. And so a lot of Jewish people have been accepting these, like the Zohar and all these different, and they go to the Bible. They turn to passages in Job and passages here and there. And so when you start to see this, it really opens your eyes that we can believe in these things. We don't have to feel like it's something beyond our,
I love you, but we're going to have to cut off a little bit because it's, normally we finish the show at 7, and we still have one more call that I want to get in. Andrew, thank you so much for calling. It's so beautiful having you in the show. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'll be back in your show since I'm
excited about it.
Huh?
Please do, every Tuesday.
You know I will, you know. You know me, so you already know. I'll be listening. If I don't be on, I'll be listening. Because I was learning something new from y'all.
Much love to you.
I love you a lot, Victoria. And you too, Mr. Alexander. So we all
Thank you very
much. Love you. Bye.
Love you too.
Okay, so let's go for the last call today. So this is going to be area code 443. Let's make sure to keep it short because we are a little out of time right now. So 443. Let's see. Hello?
Hello. Hi, Victoria.
Hi. How are you?
Good. Hi, Greg. It's Ray.
Oh. No, I was hoping somebody I would know would call.
I'm so excited to be in this moment, in this space with you. You know, you and I have been corresponding for like probably almost a year now, maybe, and to have this be the first time that I get to hear your voice, like I'm just so excited.
Wow.
Just one thing that I wanted to say is this. You know, I think the thing that you, I, Victoria, the other callers that, were under the sound of your voice, I think the one thing that we all seem to have in common is that from a very young age, we've all had this overwhelming, burning obligation to share our uniqueness with the world. You know what I mean? And sometimes it gets so overwhelming that you're just propelled into doing it, sometimes even outside of your own consciousness or outside of your own doing, you know. And also I wanted to say something about the other caller had said about the astral projection.
Oh, yeah, because I actually was thinking of you, Ray.
I know, because when I heard, I know you were probably thinking about me with the crystals too, right?
Yeah, because everything he said, like because I was telling him that I do know a person who can just float out of their body. I was referring to you.
Right, and you know what? My experience, it affected me like Victoria had explained about her third eye. I mean, her third eye opening. Like, it was traumatic for me, and that was honestly the reason. Well,
that's why I told him. But you see, that's also why I gave the advice.
Right, that was the foundation.
That don't force your chakras to open. It's got to be natural because everybody's different.
And you know how traumatic that was for me because we talked about that a lot. And the foundation of you and I becoming friends, becoming the way that we did, had asked you about it. And you were like, you didn't know. But I wouldn't suggest anybody going and tampering with that if you don't know what you're doing. When it happened to me, it wasn't even something that I initiated myself. This was something that just happened to me. Now, like I discussed with you before, Greg, I think that were factors that had contributed to that. There were certain things that I was doing. It was certain ways that I was eating. It was certain, crystals and stones that I had just recently introduced into my home. And I think that that was a contributing factor. I saw a doctor and I tried to pass it off as being a medical condition, but it was not. The doctor gave me a clean slate, so this is something spiritual that is happening to me, which the very first event was the one that kind of thrusted me into sharing my vision with the world, because I was given that vision from that, experience. You know what I'm saying? But
yes.
Yes, I'm just kind of bouncing around. That's just me. But I spent 6 years under Christian faith, okay? And this is my mom's religion. This is how she was raised. She was raised in a Methodist church, and she's a devout Christian. My whole mother's side of my family is. But I never could connect that. Even from a small child, I could never connect with that. And I spent 6 years actually attending church. My mom, this is what my mom made me do, but I gave it a shot, but I gave it up, and I tossed Christianity to the side. I tossed Jesus to the side, because I was just not getting the answers that I was seeking. Like, the pastor could not answer my questions. My mom could not answer my questions. She would get infuriated with me if I even asked her a question. But the work that you're doing, it has kind of inspired me to take a second look at it, because you're presenting it in a perspective that I've never even heard before, which goes back to, sharing your uniqueness. I've told you before, like, when you told me, you'd be like, oh, Ray, I'm working on a new book, or I'm working on that, and I just be like, that's so interesting, because I never would have thought about it in the way that you're explaining it to me. And you are absolutely right. The average person is not going to go out here and read those books and do that research like what you're doing. You said to me.
Then I need to say something right now.
Go ahead.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
I want anyone who's listening to wait for Feature Friday, 2 p.m.?
Yes, Feature Friday, yes.
On your page. You have a beautiful page, and you're working hard in getting yourself to express.
Yes. I am. I'm working hard.
I've seen you do wonderful things, and you got your beautiful new page up, and so I encourage people to check out your page. And you actually will be featuring me on Tuesday on your Feature Friday.
Friday. Yes, Friday. That page is Ray Hebron, RAEHEBRON, Certified Holistic Life Coach, and that's a Facebook page. And Greg Alexander will be featured on that page on Friday at 2 p.m. His links for his music, his art, and his books will all be available, and a nice little message from him as well. So everybody check that out.
Beautiful.
I really didn't expect to hear you.
Greg, you know what? I've been on the call since the beginning, and
wow.
I don't know why my phone. I don't know whether it was my phone that was dropping me out of the call or what, but I got disconnected 3 times, and I had to wait back in queue 3 times, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I really hope that I get to have my call.
I'm really touched by that, and it really means a lot to me, Ray.
I told you I'm here for this. And you know what? I was listening. I was a subscriber of Victoria's well before I even knew you, and I just find it so amazing. Yeah, I find it so amazing that the past. You know what I'm saying? It's just amazing to watch. I watched you guys kind of get acquainted on Facebook. No, or not, Victoria, but we are friends on Facebook as well.
Oh. Please send me a note or something so that I can identify you.
Yeah, I'll send you. I'll inbox you or send you a message or something later on. It's 10 o'clock my time, so after this.
Oh, yeah, it's getting late, huh?
Yeah, it's late, but it's really interesting how you guys' paths have crossed like that.
Yeah.
And I'm just so proud of you both. You both do great work, and I'm a fan, and I'm a supporter, and I'm always here.
Thank you so much. Wonderful connecting with you. And this will be our last call for today. Okay, so thank you once again, and bye-bye for now. Okay, so now we are really approaching our chakra tuning. So this is going to be an experiment. We have to say that. It's the first time that we are doing something like this. We are going to put beautiful music that Greg has created, and I will be toning mantras, Bija mantras for each chakra. So I invite you to tone with me while Greg is going to explain about each chakra. So in that way, you can understand more of each chakra. And anything that you want to add to that, Greg?
Basically, I will be doing something similar to my. I have some videos that are on YouTube, but I also have the CD and the MP3s. So I'll be trying to kind of recreate what I had done in the recordings. The first time I'll be doing this, so forgive me if I don't do it perfectly. I mean, the first time live. So I'll just be reading through and briefly explaining each chakra.
Beautiful. Yes. So we both are going to do our best so that you can follow along. You can chant with us, and while we listen to Greg. So I'm going to play the music. Hopefully all the levels and everything is going to be perfect, and you get to relax and tune in all of your chakras. Okay, here we go. Root chakra. Bija mantra. Love. L-A-M.
Muladhara represents our feeling of being grounded upon a firm foundation. Location, base of the spine or tailbone and down to the feet. Symbol, ambition. Function as the red energy. It involves the feeling of being accepted, a connection to ancient history and to friends and family. It offers a sense of belonging in social situations and controls reactions to fear, survival, money, and food.
And you can visualize red. Love. Sacral chakra. Bija mantra. Love. E-A-M.
Spotted fauna represents desire and our ability to accept people and new experiences. Location, lower abdomen, around the groin. Symbol, it is usually depicted with the Sanskrit symbol for desire. Function, as the orange energy. It involves the feeling of pleasure and well-being. It enables you to feel excited and engaged in life. Svadhisthana means abode of the self.
And you can visualize oil. Solar chakra. Bija mantra. Round. R
Manipura represents our ability to be confident and feel in control of our lives. Location, upper abdomen around the navel. Symbol, it is usually depicted with the Sanskrit symbol for virtue. Function, with the yellow energy, it involves digestion, the feeling of self-esteem, and trust in gut instinct. Manipura means city of jewels.
And you can visualize the energy. Heart Chakra, Bija Mantra, Yam, Y-A-M. Yam.
Anahata represents our ability to love and have empathy and compassion for others. Location, center of chest or around the heart.
Yam.
Symbol, it is usually depicted with the Sanskrit symbol for compassion.
Yam.
Function, as the green energy, it involves joy and inner peace. Anahata means unstruck.
And you can visualize praise. Rota, Bija Mantra, A-A-S.
The Shuddha represents our ability to express ourselves and communicate with others. Location, the throat, neck, and through the mouth. Symbol, it is usually depicted with the Sanskrit symbol for reflection. Function, as the blue energy, it involves communication, self-expression, singing, and truth. Definition, the Shuddha means pure place.
And you can visualize sky blue. Brown Chakra. Bija Mantra Aum. A-U-M.
Ajna represents the third eye, which can see beyond what our physical eyes can see. Location, the forehead between the eyes. Symbol, it is usually depicted with the Sanskrit symbol for perception. Function, as the indigo energy, it involves thought, intuition, visualization, and decision-making. Definition, Ajna means command.
You can visualize in the Crown Chakra. Bija Mantra Om. O-M.
Sahasrara represents higher spiritual awareness and our connection to God and the universe. Location, the very top of the head. Symbol, it is usually depicted with the Sanskrit symbol for realization. Function, as the violet energy, it involves spirituality, fellowship, world peace, and the awareness of God. Sahasrara means thousand.
And take a deep cleansing breath. That feels good. Thank you, Greg. That was awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. You see, I wanted the first songs to ascend up from an earthy feel to almost like I'm carrying the listener into space. And so I really wanted to use more space-like futuristic sounds for the higher chakras.
I love that. I love that. And for people that want to continue working with you, they would just go to your website, artofunity.org.
Yes.
Wonderful. So check it out. He has a lot of amazing things there. His books, his music, his art. So make sure to check it out. www.artofunity.org. Thank you so much, Greg, for being here.
Thank you so much. And I really enjoyed the tuning, the chakra tuning, and I really enjoyed talking to you.
Oh, me too. This was fun to try something new together. So
and I enjoyed all the callers into, and I appreciate each caller and their questions. And it was nice to hear from Ray too.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Greg. And we will talk on Facebook. Okay. Bye-bye, Greg. And now I will just continue with some news, some announcements. So some things coming up. First of all, if you are in Los Angeles or Orange County area, I invite you to visit some of my gatherings here and certification classes. Just go to www.reikiwellbeing.org and you will see all the calendar of events. And if you are not here, you can also check out crystalhealer.org to receive Crystal Healer certification from the comfort of your own home. That is crystalhealer.org. And, well, remember that I love you and that I'm here every single week. So I look forward to connecting with you once again. And now I will leave you with the announcements for the next show in our network. So have a wonderful rest of the evening. Bye.
Hi, this is Karen Newman from the show About Oneness. And here's what's coming up the week starting on Monday, October 13th until Sunday, October 19th on the Enlightenment Evolution Network 1 and 2. Simply put, Rob Gautier, founder of the EEN and the host of the show that started it all, the Enlightenment Evolution Hour, has put together the greatest metaphysical radio network ever. 7 days a week, we have shows that will aid you on your path to enlightenment, evolution, and ascension. On EEN1, Mondays at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is Heart to Heart Talk Radio with your host, Daniel Scranton. Join Daniel and his featured guests discussing a wide variety of metaphysical topics. Daniel channels the Creators, the Hathors, Ophelia the Fairy, and Archangel Michael, and the latest, the Unicorn Collective. Daniel and his guests will take phone calls and questions, and it's sure to generate high-frequency discussions. You can find more about Daniel at his website, danielscranton.com, and also on Facebook. Go to the Events tab on Daniel's website to learn more about Daniel's upcoming events. This week, Daniel's guest will be the lovely channel, Allison Hamilton. On Tuesday at noon, also 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, please join hosts Megan Crandallmeyer and Rachel Archelaus for Radio Inspiration, Expression, and Abundance for their show, Soulfulpreneur. Spiritual business specialists Rachel and Megan will bring you inspiring conversations with people who are living their soul purpose. Frequent guests include psychic mediums, channelers, coaches, artists, and authors. They end every show with psychic readings and business coaching. Your questions about your spiritual business or life purpose journey are welcome. Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, is the show that started it all, the Enlightenment Evolution Hour with host Rob Gautier. Rob channels Treb on the first Wednesday of each month and will take callers' questions. On the third Wednesday, we'll have special guests such as guest channelers and other metaphysical teachers. The other 2 Wednesdays are freestyle call-in shows to discuss whatever callers have on their minds. Tune in to Rob on Wednesday nights, and you can also find him at TrebChanneling.com and on Facebook at the Enlightenment Evolution Network group page. Rob has 2 special announcements. Starting on Sundays from September 14th, TrebChanneling.com offers hour-long meditation classes. Please go to TrebChanneling.com to register. Another project near and dear to Rob's heart is the much-anticipated sequel to the groundbreaking film Tuning In, called Tuning In Now. The movie will feature channelers such as Daryl Anka and Bashar, Lee Carroll and Cryon, and our very own Rob Gautier and Treb. Tuning In Now will explore the amazing work of today's top channels and how they are helping to awaken the consciousness of the planet. The film is in fundraising stages at the moment, and with a contribution for as little as $15 all the way up to $50, you can help make sure that this film is made. Please go to Indiegogo.com, that's Indie, I-N-D-I-E, Gogo, G-O-G-O.com, and type in the search Tuning In Now 2. That's the number 2. Tuning In Now with the number 2. On Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, join host Philip Malika with the Consciousness Evolution Hour. Join Philip and his special guests and co-hosts as they discuss the shift, ascension, timelines, metaphysical concepts, and the 5th dimension. Find Philip at the Consciousness Evolution 2.0 group page on Facebook and on YouTube. On Friday, The Earth Experience with your host, Kalina Angel, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. The Earth Experience explores our soul's expansion through our human experience on Earth. Kalina will help you to navigate and expand through the exciting confusions that we are manifesting as new 5D beings. On Sundays, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Pacific, is my show, About Oneness. About Oneness is a weekly radio program focused on celebrating the ongoing conscious awakening of our planet and our realization of oneness. I'm an American originally from Charleston, South Carolina, now living in Europe, The Hague, the Netherlands. I'm an integrated channel, medium, Reiki master, and metaphysical teacher. I have a varied and diverse background, including that of being a singer, dancer, writer, as well as working in the sport, nutrition, and fitness world. As a channel, I bring forward the information of my non-physical guides called Theos, whose message is always that of oneness and unconditional love. This show for me is about integrating all of my experiences and following my highest excitement, which is tapping into the truth of the universe. If you would like to find more about me and my show and my upcoming guests, as well as see many videos and channelings and teachings, you can go to aboutoneness.com. On the Enlightenment Evolution Network, too, join host Victoria Vives every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, hosting Earth, Sky, People Radio, your bridge between heaven and earth. Subjects will include planet Earth becoming part of an intergalactic society, starseeds and extraterrestrial life, living in oneness with one another, with Mother Earth, and with life beyond the Earth, the Interstellar Alliance, also known as the Galactic Federation of Life, music, frequency and sound healing, question and answer interviews, shamanism, ancestral wisdom and the star nations, self-sustainative and regenerative living, and much, much more. Her guest this week will be Greg Alexander. Victoria and Greg will be offering live chakra tuning during the show. Please go to victoriavives.com/radio, where she has details about the show and the network. On Saturday evenings, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, the Pied Piper and Texas Rebel hosting the show, Disclosure Now. Disclosure Now is the On the Edge of Our Seats show that covers all topics of disclosure, from the world's most famous and obscure UFO cases. Pied Piper started his journey in Michigan in 1993 as a preteen seeing Bigfoot and never could get enough and investigating all things paranormal. Texas Rebel is a wild Texas man who loves the same journey and has studied these things for years. Join them as they cover all things in the human experience that just cannot be answered by anyone. On Sundays, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Pacific, starting on November 22nd, is The Resonance Intention, hosted by O'Neill and Sol Gar. The Resonance Intention show is dedicated to all things frequency and vibration. They will showcase conscious musicians who infuse frequency into their music and have set out to uplift and raise the vibration of humanity through their music. They will have in-depth conversations with various artists about their passion, purpose, and personal journey that led them to where they are now. Additionally, they will routinely have guests on the topics of free energy, technology, and other quantum modalities, technologies that are coming into existence now. The Resonance Intention is a platform for artists, musicians, and inventors to increase awareness of their personal approach in order to contribute to the paradigm shift that we are currently within. And remember, you never have to miss any show from the Enlightenment Evolution Network 1 or 2. All shows are available to listen to again immediately after they air on playback. All right, back to the show.